The top story on ABC News Breakfast. Greek political leaders have ignored a final plea from the president to form a coalition government and avert fresh elections. The president is now talking with the leaders of the smaller parties.
Opinion polls suggest the popularity of the radical left Syriza party is continuing to grow, and a new election could make it the biggest party in an anti-bailout coalition. But analysts are warning the European Union won't hesitate to cut funding if Greece doesn't stick to its austerity program.
Europe is prepared to cut financing the country, and this will lead to normal and chaotic bankruptcy within the country itself. Syriza certainly understands the risk for Greece. Nevertheless, the main aim of its leader, Mr. Tsipras, is to win the next election and become the new Prime Minister of the country. In the case he will be elected the new Prime Minister, he certainly needs to renegotiate the memorandum with the Troika. Nevertheless, the main problem will be that Chancellor Merkel and the European Union will not be prepared to accept this. It is very hard for the European Union to negotiate with Tsipras from the moment he has invested in a populistic rhetoric and he doesn't suggest any specific measures on how Greece can get out of the crisis.
Well, for more on this story, we're joined now from Athens by our Europe correspondent, Philip Williams. Good morning, Phil. Why did the talks to form a coalition government fail?
Well, they failed simply because the second largest party, Syriza, decided to step outside of it, to stay outside. They said that quite explicitly they didn't want to be in the company of thieves, they didn't want to be in company of blackmailers, and that's the way they described the old order, the PASOK and New Democracy. And there's another, of course, very strong political imperative for them. The polls say they're heading for number one if there's another election. And if that's the case, then why stay with another party, discredit your own policies by joining with the old, when you can perhaps win, perhaps end up with power in your own right, or at least be the top dog and perhaps be the Prime Minister. That's the politics behind what's happened today.
And so just take us through that, because Syriza is opposed to the European bailout, and it could, of course, garner more support if there is another election. How likely is that to happen?
Well, the polls say that they've already increased their position from about 16% to as high as 27%. Now, there's, of course, probably a period of a few weeks before the next election. 17th of June is the touted date for that election, and that could increase in the time. So what they're trying to do is give a bit of fresh air so that the party can garner even more support and perhaps galvanise the 60% of the population that did actually vote against austerity. There's no doubt about it. The majority of the Greeks through this last election said, we don't like this austerity, we don't want it. But there is that nagging doubt, well, if we try to renegotiate, try to pull out of it, what's going to become of us? Will the bailout then go? Of course, the Germans in particular and the EU and the IMF have made it very clear, if you don't stick to the terms, you don't get the money. So it's going to be very interesting to see how those pressures play out over the next few weeks.
And Phil, the president's now talking individually to party leaders. How much longer are these talks likely to go on for?
Well, it's hard to see them going on much longer, perhaps tonight, perhaps tomorrow morning, but I would think unless there's a breakthrough in one way or another, the announcement of a fresh election will probably happen tomorrow or the day after. He's got until Thursday, in fact, to make that announcement when the new party is due to be, the new parliament is due to be opened. It has to be done by then, but it seems that he's pretty well run into dead ends everywhere he's gone. He's gone to the major parties. There was a willingness amongst PASOK and New Democracy to join forces and perhaps form a government, but without Syriza, they felt it didn't have the credibility. Syriza said, we can't deal with you. You're the old discredited way, and we'd rather take our chances in a fresh election.
And what's the mood like there in Athens, Phil?
Anger and despondency is how I'd characterise it. People feel that their politicians of all persuasions have let them down. That's why they're looking at Syriza. That's why they're looking at what otherwise would be regarded as fairly radical solutions. Not forgetting, of course, that on the right wing, the extreme right wing, and neo-Nazis, at least many people see them that way, Golden Dawn got 19 seats as well. So people are looking outside the old ways, the old parties, that they say, have got us into this mess, can't get us out, and so they're looking for rather extreme solutions.
Phil Williams in Athens.